Welcome, everyone. I am so excited to have this special Light Live because I get to have these fabulous co hosts on today. Welcome. I just saw that it just actually went through. So I'm very excited today to have these beautiful co-hosts on today. My special co-host for the retreat. Well, actually, they're both my co-hosts for the retreat, John Corbalini and Jodi Ray. Well, you're Jodi Ray, and what's your last name is Solomon. You didn't
Correct.
put that in, so but today we're actually going to be focusing on the coaching aspect of the retreat because we've talked a little bit about what I'm going to be doing, the meditation aspect, but today we're going to be focusing on you guys. And I'm really excited to be doing this live because we really haven't talked about this. So, do you guys want to first start about and tell us what you guys do as coaches? First, to share, what your specialties are and tell us a little bit about yourself so the listeners here can know your what you do, because I mean I love hearing your different skills and what your I mean, I know that you both are Tony Robbins coaches, but um, if you want to tell a little bit about yourself.
John,
um,
you go first.
You want me to go first? Okay, fine. Hi, I'm John Corbalini. I'm the founder and owner of Inner Visions Coaching, and I'm really more of an identity coach. I help people get. There's a lot of people out there who really want to do and be and have more, and they're stuck. They're stuck in that place where they're constantly beating their head against the wall. I help you break through that. I help find what that root cause is for that resistance, and we find a path around it, through it, under it, over it, whatever it takes. We're going to get it done. And I absolutely love working with people and having that. Um, there's a fulfillment when you reach someone and they figure it out, and then you can see that light go off inside their head is one of the most fulfilling things in the world. I absolutely love what I do. And working with Jodi has just amplified it to a whole new level. It's a pleasure and an honor to work with this lady, and to have her in my life. So
it's wonderful to work with other coaches and and I was actually getting that as a download before this too, because we're all one, and to be able to receive these different blessings from each other and get different knowledge from each other, it enhances our growth. So, Jody, you want to tell about yourself?
So, my name is Jodi Ray Solomon. I'm the Soul Amazing Coach. I'm an ICF credentialed coach at the PCC level. I'm a board certified coach. I am a dual star neuro encoding specialist. I'm certified in the Freedom Point method, and I am a trainer for Robbins Research International, which means I support participants at Tony Robbins events. And what that means is that I've been highly trained by some of the biggest names in personal development to develop my skill in how to effectively coach someone. And typically, I work with women, but not exclusively, but typically, I'll work with women who are really struggling with their inner critic, that voice in your head that's always telling you, no, you're not good enough. Who do you think you are? You can't do that. You're too fat. You're too ugly. I teach them where that voice originates from, what that voice is actually trying to tell you, because what it's saying to you and what you interpret it are two different messages. And then I teach you how to partner with that voice in order for you to transform that inner critic into your inner cheerleader. I also work quite a bit with women around weight loss, because so much of our issues, especially as we age, and we continue to gain weight has so much to do with what happened to us as a child that we have programmed in. So I do a lot of inner child healing, a lot of belief work, so that we can really look at what are those belief systems that are holding you back in your life. What's the story that you created? What's the story you would like to create? Because we're all powerful storytellers. And why believe a story of the past that is not serving you in a positive way, and when we can create one that is just as true but also supports you in a positive way so that you can actually attain the life of your dreams. And then John and I together, we are partnering right now to create travel life coaching adventure trips because we've spent the last year traveling the country in an RV, and realizing that we have many opportunities to take clients with us for full immersion coaching while on the road taking an adventure trip for 3 or 5 or 7 days. So we'll be launching that off probably in the next month and a half.
That's really exciting. I'm really, really excited for you guys because I think that's going to be a really powerful opportunity for people to heal and grow and really have one on one coaching opportunities with you guys. And I'm really, really excited to see where that takes you guys and takes other people, takes souls. So that I'm really, really just tickled to see that happen for you guys. So, um, that's so exciting. So, as far as what you were talking about before, and how you work with individuals for healing with, um, there goes my printer. We were trying to get it to work before, and now it's going to work. That's always how it works. But anyways, as far as we were talking about individuals for all those lessons and how it, those deep soul lessons, how it integrates with our weight weight. That is so powerful, and that's exactly where I have been feeling in to, on the quantum level. And even when I do the meditations, and I feel like it's going to be such a powerful coaching for you guys with this retreat, especially because we're talking about generational healing. So using that for a generational healing and choosing that, I mean, when we talk about how that affects ourself and the um, the cycles we see in ourself or in our family that we are ready to heal, that
Mhm.
itself, I mean, I know for myself that becomes so powerful, and I can feel for myself how that opens up so many avenues for inner healing. And I'm so excited to work with you myself for this. And that was coming in before we started talking, because it's like we are all one. And so you might receive something from me during this retreat, but I know I'm so excited to receive something from both of you from this retreat, because you both have some really powerful things to offer. Um, so, how this, I mean, do you want to go into how you discuss these topics, or do you want me to ask you questions? Because, I mean, I can ask you questions all day long.
Go for it. Ask away.
You know, um, because I know, like, what I've been feeling a lot is the the nervous system, and how the nervous system has playing a huge role on our weight.
So the reality is that um, the question always comes up: what come first, the chicken or the egg? Right? It's really hard to determine. And the same goes true with our nervous system. But there is a big school of thought that what you think creates what you feel, and what you feel creates what you do, and what you do creates what you have. And therefore, that school of thought is everything starts with what you think, whether you recognize it as a conscious thought or an unconscious thought. And therefore, our nervous system will respond to those thoughts. So perhaps maybe you're walking through the kitchen and you see a bag of chips. You don't realize that you are consciously thinking about that bag of chips, but a thought occurred as you saw it because your mind processed that information, put it into your internal reality that that bag of chips was sitting there on the counter. Then your unconscious mind starts to think about that bag of chips, whether you are conscious of that or not. So you know you have a food craving for a bag of chips. So our nervous system will respond to our environment. Whatever it is that we see will produce a thought. Whatever we're thinking about will create a whole other set of thoughts. Maybe you're thinking about a past event, and that past event brings up a lot of feelings that you don't want. And habitually, your mind says, well, if I don't want this, I need to move away from that. And you end up moving towards an unconscious thought of food. And the next thing you know, you're diving into a habitual eating pattern. And it all starts with what it is we think. And the
Mhm.
things that we think start with the belief system that we adopted as children because of our environment. So, digging into those belief systems about what are your beliefs around failure versus success, love of self versus love of others, earning versus deserving, understanding what those belief systems are that you have formed as a child, and then understanding how those belief systems also relate to your belief systems around food. What were some of um, the belief systems that you still hold that are unconsciously held that are still driving you? Are you part of the clean plate club? Do you feel like, okay, if I took this food on the plate, I have to finish everything? Did you participate in a family that demanded you eat your food in certain orders, or you can only have dessert if you've cleaned everything off your plate? These are all belief systems that are indoctrinated to us as a child. And
Or,
we just keep operating in that belief system.
yeah, or could it be you lived in a childhood that you didn't have food at all? Or
Absolutely.
you had very little food. So now when you feel, you need to fulfill needs, you're fulfilling them with food because you didn't have food then. So now you have,
You grew up in a scarcity mindset.
exactly.
We're
That makes
in that scarcity mindset because scarcity mindset is I have to eat everything right now because if I don't, it might not be available tomorrow.
exactly. That makes
Losing weight really challenging until we work through that scarcity mindset because a healthy mindset says I can take a little bit here, a couple of tastes there, and I'm satisfied, and I don't need to eat the whole thing because I'm no longer attached to the scarcity. This is one of the major reasons why certain diet plans, especially something like the ketogenic diet, is while short term very effective, long term is not because it puts you into a scarcity mindset. And if you're already starting from a scarcity mindset and you take a diet that is a scarcity mindset diet, you are got a double whammy against you. And now you are really on an uphill battle.
that's
Mhm.
probably why uh, that diet didn't work for me because I tried it and at first it was doing really well for me, and then all of a sudden it just like all of a sudden it backfired really badly on me. So that makes sense because I grew up in a scarcity mindset. And that's one of the things that I have been healing, because I always heal something before I do my retreat. I always, practice whatever. And that's what I've been working. And so I've been working the field, working our field. And this is part of my field for the retreat.
And I've had a scarcity mindset. I grew up with that for sure. Um, and so having released 120 pounds permanently and being able to keep it off successfully, um, one of the biggest tools is that there are no foods for me off limits ever. For me, it is if I want that, I get to make a conscious choice what
Mm.
order of which I'm going to eat the food, because the order in which you eat your foods actually does matter in your body's ability to process and release weight. And then I have to take into my personal account my body chemistry. How does my body respond to certain foods? For instance, if I have white rice, and it doesn't matter what circumstance it is, if it's um, then cooked and then cooled to reduce the extra starch, whether it is I put a vegetable or a protein before I eat it, whether I eat it standalone, it just doesn't even matter. However, I eat white rice, my blood sugar will skyrocket. And the minute it skyrockets, what goes up has to come down, and then I have a crash. And what that translates for my body is I need a 2 hour nap. So white rice is not off the table. I just get to schedule it. Do I have time for a 2 hour nap? And because I know that this is how my body responds, my body says, okay, great. You can have that anytime you want as long as you have time for a nap. And some days I look at my calendar, nope, no time today. I guess I'll make a different food choice. And other days, yeah, I got time for that. I can go ahead and indulge a little.
Interesting that that's how your body responds. I am noticing the more I do quantum healing sessions on myself in different foods, the more I notice how my body responds to different foods. And
Mm.
so I am noticing like how my body responds to sugar, how my body responds to corn. There are different foods that it's very, very obvious. And then there's other foods that I don't feel any, that I can eat all day long and I love, fruits and vegetables, stuff like that, that are yummy. But a lot of them are very limited too. And I, I can feel that in my body. And I didn't feel that until I started doing meditation and quantum and started to really feel into what those actual responses were, because there are physical responses to different foods.
And sometimes the physical response to a food actually doesn't show up for 3 days. So it's really hard at that point to determine, was it the food that caused it, or am I just having an off day? But there are certain foods that the response in the body doesn't take the inflammation but 3 days before it'll show up.
Yeah, that makes sense because when we do a scan, we look for 72 hours uh, period in which the food could be. And people will be like, ate that, several days ago. Why would that even appear in this session? But it does because it will. And also like things that that will be in the environment, even like perfumes or things we touch, anything can affect the body.
Mm.
But so what do you see most profound? What are you feeling most profound in when you work with people? When
For me, my joy, my pleasure is always when people start to make that aha connection between they held as a child is actually still running the bus and they didn't even know it.
Yeah.
And helping them to step away from the emotion of a moment to see it from uh, a bigger picture. It's kind of like if you're going to look at a piece of art, are you going to stand right up next to the art to see the little tiny square in front of you, or are you going to step 5 to 15 feet away to really gaze in the entire beauty of the picture, right? And
Yeah.
so when I help clients step away from the emotion of it so that they can just see the reality of it and start to make that aha and watch them go, oh my gosh, I totally understand. Because there's so many more things that I bring into this. We each have a different part of our personality uh, called an archetype. And sometimes one piece of our personality is driving towards one goal while the other parts of our personality are driving towards another. And to recognize that this is not us that's creating the bad habitual pattern, but it's a small piece of our personality and the needs that that piece is looking for that is actually derailing it. And so to watch people learn how can they meet those needs in more empowering ways, and what is the one question that you can ask yourself in any given moment in order for you to connect to what your overall outcome is, to keep you um, focused on where you're going instead of focused in that moment in which you are feeling weak. And to hear women tell me how that one question just changed the next 30 minutes of their life and made it a great day for them is just so beautiful to me.
That's really cool. So we're going to be doing one-on-one sessions with these people and the coaching. So John and Jody, do you guys want to take turns talking about what you're going to be focusing on during these with these people, with our guests, and kind of briefly go over some of the topics we're gonna be discussing in our sessions? You want to start, John?
Jody, you want to start? Or you want me to start?
Or do you want, I put you on the spot? Sorry.
It's all good. It's all good. Um, I'm going to be talking about the foundational stuff. Where do these limiting belief patterns get formed? Why do they get formed? Jody was talking about childhood,
Yeah.
right? Well, up to the age of 7, it's really just your subconscious mind. Your identity, your consciousness, your awareness really doesn't begin to form until you're around 7 years old, somewhere in that area. So anything that gets dumped into your mind before 7 years old is all your brain knows. It's all your subconscious mind knows. So if mom and dad, if you see them eating potato chips, which is what we started talking about all the time, it's going to be normal for you. You're not going to have a second thought about, oh, this is the way it is. We eat potato chips here, because that was dumped into your subconscious mind. And what else was dumped into your subconscious mind that you don't even know is there? This is where awareness and consciously being in the present moment comes in. But how do you do that? How do you be aware in the present moment when all the stuff that's going on in the background, the habitual stuff that you don't even know you're doing, that you don't even know is there, how do you override that? So this is some of the stuff that I'm going to be talking about. And one of the things Tony talks about is called the triad, which is physiology, focus, and meaning. There's 3 sides in a triangle, so it's called a triad. Physiology is how you use your body. Focus and beliefs is the second side of the triad. What are you focusing on and believing in any given situation? And the third side of that triangle or the triad is language and meaning. What words are you using? I can or I can't. I'm not good enough or I got this. And all of these 3 sides of this triad is the foundation that you make your decisions. It's basically the foundation of your life, really, when you think about it. And I have a tool that I help you to, how do I want to say this? Let's start over again. Decisions are made from an emotional place. We make our decisions with our emotions. Okay.
Yeah.
And there are things that have to happen to make you feel loved, to make you feel angry, to make you feel fulfilled, to make you feel regretful or resentment, all those different um, emotions that you feel at any given day. Something has to happen to make you feel that emotion. Whatever that is a trigger. And remember, I talked about the triad, right? Physiology, focus, and meaning. Each one of those triggers is its own triad. You have physiology that you use around this. Something makes you feel angry. Pick something, whatever it is. You have a certain way that you use your body when this trigger happens. You have certain things that you focus on and believe on when this trigger hits. You have certain language and meanings that you give to things when that certain trigger hits. Everything is a triad. So if you take every one of these triggers in every area of your life, your kids, your spouse, your house, your job, the car, the money, the bank account, whatever, you throw them all out on the floor, you got a picture of your life. What is not working for you? Which one of those is not working for you? Let's find out why it's not working for you, because there's a belief system in the subconscious mind that got in there when you were before 70, earlier than 7 years old. Something created a belief, and the belief is basically BS. Okay, because it's stopping you. Now, Jodi, I'm going to share a little something about you. Jodi's got this program called Power Over Pounds. Okay, and I love acronyms, and it's just one of my favorite things. So, what's the abbreviation for pounds, Christina? What's the abbreviation for pounds?
LB.
LBS.
Oh, well, LBS. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, limiting belief systems. So, power over your limiting belief systems is another way. It's not the physical pounds, it's the mental and emotional and spiritual pounds that you're dragging around that you don't even know is there. That's what we're going to get into. I'm going to show you why it's there, how to change it. And there's so much of this revolves around the food that you eat, because so many people don't understand, and Jodi's going to talk more about this. There's so many people don't understand that cortisol is the stress hormone. It's the one that makes you freaks you out.
Hmm.
Dopamine is the feel good hormone. Which one do you want floating around in your body? Dopamine. It's
Well,
the,
yeah.
and both of them are created in the gut, which is why gut health is so important. And that has everything to do with what you eat. Garbage in, garbage out. Jodi's going to explain this a lot better than I can, but I can tell you one thing. She has helped me to release 38 pounds in the past, I don't know, year ish. And I'm still working. I'm still doing it. But you know what? She did 120. I, I, I,
Well,
I
and
so
that's phenomenal because it's harder for women to lose weight than men. So, especially after a certain age. So, the fact that she was able to lose that much is, I mean, I'm kudos to you, Jody, because I need to stick around Jody, because that's
yeah, I
great.
can vouch for that. You stick around
Yeah,
Jodi long enough, you're going to have a different perspective on things. Absolutely.
yeah, because no, it's very difficult for women after a certain age to lose weight. It is just because hormones change and things slow down, and maybe I should just stop saying that because I've
And
just
you know what? Well,
changed
yeah,
my mind system about it. Things keep getting faster.
yeah.
I'll
And then there's the
say that
spiritual part of it.
things are going to keep getting faster, and I'll
It
just mentally say that, and I will, you know,
yeah, and then there's the spiritual part of it. You know, I
it.
mean, you think about this, because why would God, source, universe, infinite intelligence, one God, many names, call them what you want? Why would God create someone in his own image that isn't worthy? He wouldn't. The
Well,
math doesn't work. So it's because we've been conditioned to believe, again, before you were 7, you can't do that. You're not good enough to do that. That's bad.
you're
All that.
right. Because when I check the quantum and I say, okay, I check on a regular basis about my health and stuff. It was the quantum who told me, or that told me that I needed to go and get my last surgery. I needed to go to the hospital. It was time. And it happened in less than 6 hours. I was fine and then I needed to go to the hospital. But it was, but I was, but I checked and I said, well, because I've had a couple of friends who've had like surgery for weight loss and I've checked, am I supposed to do this? And they say no. This is something I am doing internally. I'm working through. This is my part of my healing journey, is to go through and work through, because after I lost my last two, I've lost both of my ovaries. I've gone into what they call medical menopause. It was very depressing for me. I didn't talk about it for a while. I felt like I had, you know, it was a very something I didn't, want to tell people.
Hmm.
But then I realized, no, maybe this is part of my journey as well.
Hmm.
Maybe this is something I get to heal and I get to share about. And so, um, recently, as I've been working through this and accepting this as part of me and part of my healing process, then I've also, I'm bringing myself and all aspects of myself together as my new aspect, is my new process, and accepting all of me
Hmm.
and loving all of me. And through that, um, that's that's where I'm coming through with. I feel like as I do that, the weight is going to come in.
And that you bring up such a
Hmm.
beautiful and key point, Christina, that when we as humans are in judgment of ourselves in a negative way, there is pieces of us that we're rejecting. Now, if you rejected your friend and you said, no, you're not good enough, and then you turned around and you asked your friend, hey, could you help me out here? How likely would your friend be to help you after you just rejected him, right?
Yeah.
Well, the same thing happens with ourselves. When we are in judgment of ourselves and say, this isn't good enough, you're not good enough, how likely do you think then we are going to cooperate in showing our best self so that we can create the life of our dreams? We're not, because that piece inside of us says, well, why would I do that? You know, I'm not good enough. You don't think I'm good enough. So when we learn to be able to accept ourselves in as is condition, not worse, but as is, and say, this is what I get to work with. I'm not judging it as good, bad, whatever. I'm just accepting. And then I help people to use language that really helps lighten the mood rather than, I've got this bad habit. I'll say, oh, you mean you have a bonus feature? Transforming the language, it takes away that negativity of the emotion. It brings that light and fun aspect to, oh, it's just a bonus feature. I can work around that. It allows us to help to accept ourselves in as is condition. It's like if you're going to run a race, you have to go through the qualifying. The qualifying trials only tell you where you have been in the past, and based on your past, which starting position you will have on the field to start the race.
Hmm.
Not a judgment of anything other than this is how you've done in the past. It does not judge whether or not you will win or lose that race. That is literally just the acceptance of as is condition. This is where I'm starting at in the race. This is what I got to work with. And you know what? If I want to win, I know what I need to bring to the table.
And judgment and judgment is part of the equation. You can't get away from judgment. Okay, because anytime you make a decision, you're judging. If you have two choices, and I go with this one, I've judged that one as not the one I want. That's not what I want. This is what I want. You've made a judgment. Okay, and it's not good or bad. It's just the way we make decisions, and from the emotional place. If you are in a happy mood, if you have these two choices, you're in a good mood, this is going to feel great. But if you're in a lousy mood, they maybe both of them are going to feel miserable. Both choices suck because of your attitude, because of where you are mentally, what emotional state you're in. Not just your physical state, but your emotional state. So when you can pull yourself out of your emotion, this is the conscious awareness, living in the present moment. How to do this is actually simple, but it is not easy. It is not
No.
easy, and it is completely worth it.
And
Go.
I'll also say there that oftentimes our emotional state is actually driven by our physical state. And what I mean by that is that, as John alluded to earlier, gut health is where certain chemicals in the body are created.
Oh,
And so, if we are feeding the bad bacteria, that bad bacteria feeds our negative or bad emotions. How I know this to be true, because I actually did an experiment on myself one time. I had completely removed all sugar from my diet. And one day I said, oh my gosh, I want some Haagen-Dazs Dolce de Leche ice cream. So I allowed myself one of those single serving little ones and I ate it. It was quite yummy. And about 2 hours later, my mood went from an elevated high to down in the dumps and having some extremely negative thoughts that I hadn't had in 2 or 3 years. And I was like, oh my gosh, I read this study about how sugar interacts with the gut and create a mood change. I think that's what's happening. So I, you know, let myself detox from that Haagen Dazs, and about a month later, I recreated the exact experiment, had it again. Sure enough, same thing happens, and it really made it clear to me that our emotional health is also not only under our purview of what we choose to think and how we choose to change our thought process, but it's also deeply affected and influenced by what we put into our bodies and what we eat, because that food will then process into our emotional chemistry.
oh,
There was
very much so. And it also, if you think about it, that is right next to where we manifest. That's right where we and that's where that's connected with our whether we're going to be in fear or in a high vibration. All of that stuff is connected. So if we're it will affect whether or not our manifestation is going to go into, we're going to be able to manifest the higher vibrational frequencies that we see. And so what we eat really does play a role in whether we can manifest what we see.
there was something I was watching a video. I was watching I don't remember if it was Joe Dispenza or Greg Braden or who it was, but there was some kind of study done that showed that sugar is required to create cortisol, the feel bad hormone. You lose the sugar, your body doesn't, it can't really create the cortisol, the feel bad hormone. What's left? Dopamine, the feel good hormone. It, the connection is, it's like glaring, but
Yeah,
because of subconscious programming from before we were 7 years old and mom and dad chowing down on a half a pint of Haagen-Dazs, which I'm guilty of doing once in a while too. Hey, look, I'll own it. Okay.
yeah.
But it's now it becomes willpower. Now it becomes a choice, a decision. I don't have to eat the whole thing of Haagen. I can have a spoonful or two, satisfy the craving, done. There's not enough sugar to cause damage. You eat a whole pint, now you got a problem.
Oh, yeah. Then it starts to be like you've got a severe addiction or something. But yeah,
Well, we're
but
addicted to our emotions too.
well, but sugar is one of the high, I think sugar is just as addictive as tobacco or something else out there, alcohol.
Sugar is not the enemy. The enemy is high fructose corn syrup.
You're right.
That's
Have
true.
found that high fructose corn syrup, because it is sugar that has undergone a heat and chemical processing change, it becomes more addictive than cocaine.
It's horrible.
It is one
And
of
it's not good,
the hardest to remove from the body.
and it's really it's really poor in the way it's developed. It's really bad for our bodies. It's but
Hmm.
it's in a lot. So my grandmother was a pharmacist for over 50 years, and she has a tendency to read labels. Her and my mother read labels for like everything. And they will not buy high fructose corn syrup products. Um,
So when
I
it comes
would,
to generational healing, I mean, you think about, um, you know, our parents' generation 50 years ago were not dealing with the level of trauma that we are now, because their food source in and of itself was different. But
mhm.
also the way their belief system, their societal belief system, and what was acceptable wasn't acceptable, and how they handled it was also different. And in some ways, you didn't worry about it. In other ways, you didn't talk about it, and it was, your deep dark family secrets. So many of the today's society is actually willing to look at, this is my trauma. This is my pattern. This is also a familial pattern. And I can see how I am replaying the same pattern that I saw from my parents or my grandparents.
and what was your comfort when this happened? When this trauma happened, how did you comfort yourself? And it was the comfort mechanism necessarily uh, a good mechanism? Can we change that mechanism to a higher vibrational um, tool?
And so
You know,
this
now
is
that we know better.
it's really important to understand. Tony Robbins talks a lot about the six human needs, and their needs of everybody, and they're different than Maslow's hierarchy of needs. But the six human needs are the need for certainty, the need for variety, the need for significance, the need for love and connection. And those are the needs of the body. But then we also have the needs of the spirit, which is growth and connect and contribution. When you meet three or more of those needs at a high level, it becomes an addiction or a pattern. And so when we are experiencing trauma, we are gravitating to some of those needs. I might need a need of certainty. I might have a need for significance, and I might have a need for love and connection. And because I'm traumatized, I'm chasing those three needs, but I can't do that in a positive way. So I do that. I pick up behaviors that create a negative feedback loop. And what that means is, the first time you do it, it feels good. It's positive. The more you do it, it becomes negative and negative. And now you're in this negative feedback loop because you're trying to meet these human needs as a way to cope with this trauma. And when
That's
we understand, what is it, those needs that you're trying to meet? Are the current ways of meeting those needs a positive or negative experience? What are alternate ways to meet those needs that can be considered positive? And then what is the meanings that you are assigning to the actual um, event source, trauma source? And when we step back from the emotion of that, can we look at it from but what did you learn? What was the learning? Why was, if I just assumed that this event happened for my highest and best good, that it was just part of my journey, what possible reason did I have to experience that? And who did I become as a result of that? And when I take those empowering meanings away from it, it discharges my negative emotional response to that. And it allows it to be nothing more than a fact of the past, not a story to get involved in anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah,
opens up room for healing and to see all the growth.
yeah. And because you have now taken the negative meaning away from it, now there's a space there that you have to fill with something. Because if you don't fill it with something new, the old stuff you just went through is going to fill it right back in, and you're back in that loop again. So when you break that limiting belief pattern, when you become aware of it, now you get to choose. Do I want to stay the old way? Do I want to find something new? And finding something new is scary, but it's not as scary as living the same life you've been living, repeating the same day over and over and over again, and the same illnesses and the same bullshit and all that other stuff. You have to choose. It's scary to face that unknown. But that's where the growth is.
Yeah.
That's where the growth is.
So, Christina, I hope this gives you a really good overview of the type of coaches we are and the things that we are bringing to the
It,
table here at the retreat to really help people to uncover for themselves about their belief systems.
it does. And I really think that they're going to receive so much from you guys. I am so looking forward to seeing you guys in person and in getting to talk to you guys more. And if they have any questions, I hope they leave it below so they can get some, we can get some comments, and you'll be able to share this as well. So this is I and we'll also put the we can also put the link below as well. So this was wonderful, and I really enjoyed having you guys. So
Thank you.
It's
yeah,
a pleasure.
it was very wonderful.
Always
You
a
guys
privilege
have
to
a
be with you,
wonderful
Christina.
day. And I send you blessings and everything, John, for everything going on with you.
Thank you, love. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah. So you guys take care, and I will talk to you very soon.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Take care.
Have a wonderful day.
Bye, guys.
Bye.